I'm going to do a mobile native iOS test. So this is my iPhone. This is the Apptim demo iOS app that we created, replicating the flow that I just did, sorry, for web with Apptim. I'm going to do it on mobile native. I can do the same steps, start test. Now I'm going to choose the iPhone. I can actually look for the app that I'm going to test, which is the Apptim demo iOS. I'm going to start a test. I'm going to put quickly Apptim demo. And here I can actually freely test whatever I want. This is where I usually recommend people that start with mobile performance, even if you don't have an Apptim script yet, or maybe somewhere else, maybe the functional team has it and you are not able to get it right away, you still can start testing performance and getting familiarized with these metrics, right? So let me unblock my phone. So there's the Apptim demo app, which is similar flow than the one on the website. You know, here you can scroll and choose any phones. I'm going to actually do the same script. I'm going to choose phone category. I'm going to click on the iPhone 6. You can see there. I'm going to add it to cart. I'm going to actually add 2 phones. And that's it. I just check out and we have our native test already run. In this case, I did it manually. Same thing, we could do it with Apptim because it also works with native iOS. I'm just gonna end test. This will create another report. This report is for the native app, the iOS app that we just saw. While this actually loads, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you the results. So what do we care about when we are talking when we are thinking about mobile performance, right? Mobile performance, when I talk about mobile performance now, it's mostly like client side, how the app runs on the device. We have to understand that our apps are sharing the resources of the device with other apps that are running, right? So we don't have unlimited CPU, memory, or battery. So we have to optimize our apps to be able to do the correct use of resources while it's running. So here we can see that this is a typical Apptim report. We have another one with different devices that I'm going to show you after, but just with one device, you get a list of all the issues that Apptim identify. What are issues for us? Things that can provide a better experience to the user. So we actually have 3 different like big groups. We have the user experience metrics, which could be like rendering times. In Android, it could be like the amount of controls, layouts that you have on a screen, things that will make you know, the screen or pages just take a long time to load. Then we have resource usage. Resource usage is actually related to the device itself. The devices have you know, their own hardware, and that is why we also need to test on different devices to make sure that our app performs as expected. So I'm going to show you later a few of the metrics that we measure on resource usage. And then lastly, we have errors. So if there's any crash, any exception that happens during a test, automated or manual, Apptim will capture that and we will show you even the logs and where the problem happened. Okay, so in this case, we see that we have, you know, a little high usage of power. All these metrics are actually based on some best practices, so some limits. We call it thresholds. So you will actually see a warning if any of these metrics is over that threshold. So in this case, you can see that CPU usage on this iPhone was over maximum 71%, which is pretty high. Same with memory. We have a high use of memory. Probably, you know, our app is not releasing memory properly. There's a problem there that I have to look at. So you get a video of the test. So this is the video of the app that I just showed you. And this is all the graph with the details on each of the metrics that we measure. This is really useful for developers that want to understand exactly how the CPU usage was during the test. So you can see here how it goes up during the test. This is actually when the app started. We also measure threads. You have here the memory. It's actually increasing. If it actually keeps increasing and it reaches the limit of the device, that's a memory leak, meaning that we are not releasing memory properly and the app is going to crash. So we want to be able to identify this with our mobile performance tests. We also have metrics regarding network. You can see it here, the amount of data that is being sent and received from the app. we also have rendering time, Rendering time, I'm going to show it a little bit later when we talk about the web browser and mobile. But basically, you want to make sure that the frames per second are correct, so there's a fluid continuity in the app experience. So when your user is going from one screen to the other, you have to make sure that there's no lag in the rendering, and all those things you have to measure on the client side. That's the only way you can actually gather that data.
If you allow me, Sophie, if you allow me, I can tell about a short story, something that happened in testing an application a couple of weeks ago. That it was very useful to see this report after doing an exploration, a session of exploratory testing, and we spent half an hour testing an application, and we saw that the memory was like getting, bigger and bigger, and we say, hey, we should try to do a longer session to see if there is a problem, because if we don't have this type of tools, we don't have any idea of the risks involved in that situation. So it's like having more eyes in different things and covering other type of risks. So it's also useful for when you are approaching the problems with an exploratory testing way, right?
Yeah, and it's amazing what like the mobile is causing us to think about the experience, right? So in your laptop, for example, you might feel a bit uncomfortable if your laptop is getting warmer, right? But you don't want to walk with a phone that is like I know 100 Fahrenheit all day and use and just have a battery for like, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours because you installed an application. Like all of us will, if we figure out the application that caused us, we know what will be the next step. Probably a review of 1 star recommending everyone not to do that and uninstalling it with a heartbeat. So it's not just the CPU and everything. It's like overall you don't want the device to heat up. You don't want going with like a block. Maybe if you're at winter, maybe then that could be a good feature.
Totally. And what you mentioned, Fede, it's interesting because we come from a load testing background, and you actually do what is called like an endurance test. When you're testing the backend, you might be loading for 6-8 hours and see what happens. So you're actually doing the same, but on the front end. You're using your app, you're at least keeping it open for a certain amount of time and see how it manages the memory on the device. So that's similar idea, but doing that type of test on the front end. So there are a lot of things that we should look for in the front end. These are examples of some problems that you might find. As I mentioned, also if there are any errors, you will see it here. And one very good things for developers and also performance engineers is you have all the logs from the device. So this is very, very helpful. Not just seeing the graphs and the colors, but you want to know exactly what happened at what time and just be able to troubleshoot right away. Which that's also another big area where we're wasting a lot of time trying to fix things. It's just having the right information at the right time. Okay, so this is an example of a native iOS report using Apptim.